Show me the money NFL picks for week 17 here on the podcast. Joining me today to break it all down here and on video for the first time on this podcast, Joey Castellano is here. Joey, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Pretty good. Good to have you on here. I'm looking forward to it. Took us a little bit off air here, a week where we can actually talk about watch the football more because I think you and I are both in agreement. Football, full slate of football on Christmas, even Christmas is hard.
Yeah, I mean, I always looked at it, I was like, oh, Christmas football, that's awesome. But honestly, I hate it. I barely was able to watch some of it. Christmas Day, I was able to watch a little more, but the main slate on Christmas Eve, you're with family around the table. It's hard to like keep track of. And I have fantasy playoffs going on and everything. So yeah, it's kind of annoying actually.
Yeah, because I think prior to the week, I know Mike Frances on his podcast made a big deal. Oh, like Cowboys Dolphins, the best game of the day. Nobody's able to see it because everybody's eating Christmas dinner at 4:30, and he's right.
Yeah, I caught, drips and drabs of it. I wasn't really able to watch it in full. I mean, I was like checking up on the score every like 10 minutes, but yeah, you're just sitting around the table talking to family, and then my house, like got the little kids turning the change the channel and stuff. I'm like, I can put the game back on. I need to watch this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely not as good as when a normal football Sunday when you're just sitting there kind of watching. But
Yeah, I think unless you're like a complete asshole, you can maybe get away with one game on a full Christmas Eve. You can't get away with that with everything.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I was able to. That's my excuse for the Viking game. The Vikings are on. Like, give me my like hour to watch football, but then I'll be like in and out all day. So, but I kind of wish I was in and out during that game last Sunday. So,
Yeah, we got to talk about that game as well. I mean, obviously, like Vikings we're playing to stay alive. They lose to the Lions. Detroit wins the division the first time in 30 years here. Vikings had a chance to win it, but Nick Mullins throws the pick on a minute to go. Here's a big takeaway from that game.
well, first of all, sorry, isn't that wild? The Lions haven't won the division since '93. It was the Central Division. The Bucks were in it. Like they haven't won it since it's been the North, and that's like 10 years prior to the merger too. So I mean that's wild. But um, yeah, it's I don't even know where to start with them. It's just been a wild year to say the least. Somehow they're still in the playoff race. They've switched through like four quarterbacks. Each one throws four picks a game. It's like it's finally we have a good like a defense that's playing well, and then we have return the ball over left and right, and then the few times like in the Bengal game a few weeks ago, they decide to get the offense moving, and then all of a sudden the defense lets up three touchdowns in a row. So it's just been one of those years. It's just been hard to it's been hard to even just like where are we? It's like every day, every game's like you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then injury bug and everything. I mean, this game the other day was just Mullins threw four picks. Somehow we're still in the game. Justin Jefferson's just and different breed, keeping us in it really. And the defense, played all right and just can't pull it out late. It's like, normal situation in Minnesota.
Yeah, I feel like we've had that happen a lot the last few years. And then before we go on to the playoffs here, I'm thinking, no, in Detroit here, like this is the first time Ford Field's hosted a playoff game. I think it's been open for almost like 15,
Yeah,
almost 20 years. Just wild.
I know. I mean, they haven't won the division, so they haven't been able to host the game.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem here when you have a scenario like that and the game just, goes out. And I think in terms of that, Joey's having some audio issues here. I'm gonna take a look at that here in
I
the
know
post.
Sears off a year. I mean, kudos to the Vikings for still being in the race, even though if they lost Kirk Cousins, they had Jefferson gone for 7 games. But it's been pretty annoying, to be honest with you.
Yeah, in terms of the playoff picture here with the Vikings, I do want to take a look at this here because obviously right now they are in the eighth position. They're 7-8. They have tiebreakers right now over Atlanta and the Packers on head to head, and the Saints are behind them both here. But like they need to win basically both their games here and have either Seattle or the Rams lose a game down the stretch here. Like, how do you feel about the Viking playoff chances right now?
I feel like I'm like seesawing back and forth my thing because this is the way it's been this year. Like one moment I'm bashing, and the next moment I'm like, oh, they still could get in the playoffs, so my picks are going to correlate to that. But yeah, I the Viking, I guess, scenario is that they're gonna 100% win on Sunday to make the last game matter, and then you get your knees kicked out. That's probably what will happen. So I mean, I do think. I mean, who knows? Will the Lions? I don't know what the situation might be in 2 weeks, but they might bench starters. I mean, I don't know. They could have it wrapped up, or they could be trying for like a 2 seed. I mean, I don't think they're gonna get the one, but actually now they might be tied. Or I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I'll pull the
haven't,
picture up here so
yeah, I
everyone
haven't
can get it
seen
because
since yesterday with the loss of the Niners. I haven't really
yeah,
checked.
yeah, I'm
Um,
checking. Yeah, I'll have I'll put it up on the screen for people who are watching the video version here, the NFC playoff picture here. So just for make it relevant, there's a lot of interconnected things going on here. So right now they are a three-way tie, the Lions with the Niners and Eagles for the top
oh,
seed.
they
So
are tied. Oh, so this Cowboys game's huge. I
yeah,
mean, all
yeah,
right, so they're probably gonna be playing both games. I was hoping that like they got locked up like the 3 seed or something, and then they would sit their starters for the Vikings if the Vikings happen to beat Green Bay. But who knows? It's a division rival anyway. They might not even. They wouldn't probably even do that anyway.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Detroit loses that game to Dallas, and remember Dallas is 7-0 at home this year. Like if they lose that game, like they're basically locked out of the one unless like either the 49ers or Eagles lose twice, which I think is very unlikely given the schedules these teams have here. So there's a chance here they're kind of locked into three by the time they
yeah,
get to week 18.
yeah, they potentially could be locked. I mean, I don't know what happens. Like they could be trying for a 2 seed if the ones I don't know. I mean, they'll probably just play anyway, it's Dan Campbell, but um I mean, I think they could beat the Lions. I don't think it's like out of the. They should. They were close the other day. It's just
Yeah.
they actually got down within striking range of the end zone. I mean, Mullen just threw a balloon ball, whatever. He just hasn't been. I just look at it like, why not start the rookie last 2 weeks? Jaron Hall, the 5th round pick.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I mean, Mullins has turned it over like 8 times in the last 2 games. Dobbs is doing the same. They both. I mean, I think Mullins runs the offense a little bit better, but at this point, it's like, what's the point? We got to win the next two, and
See what happens.
yeah, why not?
Yeah, and
Uh,
look at
my conspiracy is that I don't think they want to put Hall in because I think their ultimate goal is to bring back Kirk Cousins next year.
yeah.
So I think that's the plan. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, and look at the two teams ahead of them too. They each have one tricky game left in their schedule. Here, the Rams do go to San Francisco weeks 18, and the Niners couldn't need that game, so that's something you would be rooting for if you're a Viking fans, is that the Rams need to play that out. 49ers need to play that out here. And the Seahawks scenario, the Seahawks play Pittsburgh this week, and Pittsburgh is a tough team. So like there's realistic possibility both those teams lose one game, and then the Vikings win both. They might have a conference tiebreaker edge on them.
Yeah, I mean, we need help now, and I the Rams, it's like that's what I'm nervous about. I'm like, that's why I was rooting for the Ravens last night. I was like, we need to make sure the Niners don't lock up this 1 seed because then the Rams will have to play them at the end of the year. Seahawks, I mean, Pittsburgh, I mean, they looked really good the other day versus the Bengals at home. Is the Seahawks Steelers game? I think it's in Seattle, right?
It
Or
is,
is
I
it in?
believe. I believe it's in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, um, I think Seahawks are probably going to win the next 2 games, unfortunately. Um, and then, yeah, I guess that Rams Niners game is going to be a big deal. That might potentially end up being the one difference. I mean, I could just see the Vikings winning the next 2 games, and then them winning the next two, and then they don't get it anyway. But it's just usually how it rolls with the Vikings.
Yeah, and one thing we know for sure here is that Packer Viking game Sunday night here is the last game, week 17, is a basically you lose this game, you're out for either team here. So like
Yeah.
and Minnesota won the first time they played 24-10 back in week 7, but Kirk Cousins started that game before he got hurt here. How do you think this goes here for the Vikings on Sunday? What do they have to do to win this game?
Not turn the ball over. That's kind of what the whole season's been, is, they're in games, their defense is holding the other team, in check, and the Vikings turn it over. It's just a lot of mental, like Mullins is just, it seems like every game, if he's about the last 2 games at least, he was about to get, sacked, and he just like chucking it up, like literally 5 feet in the air. It's hold on to the ball and just take the sack at this point. Stop turning the ball over. Um, he is a little gutsy, like he's a little gunslinger. So I do kind of like it, but at the same time, we're turning the ball over a lot. So I think that's the main thing. I mean, the whole season has been turning the ball over. Um, they have to lead the league in turnover differential. I'm pretty sure. They I don't know. I feel like the defense is finally doing well. Like last year was the opposite. Vikings offense is putting up 30 points a game, but their defense is letting up 30 points a game. So now it's the opposite. Now the defense is actually playing well, and the Vikings are turning the offense is turning the ball back to the defense a lot. I mean, it seems like they had 4 picks the other day. It seems almost every game they have like 4 turnovers, and it's like, how are you going to win a game when you turn over the ball 4 times? And the scary part is that they're losing by less than a touchdown in every game. So, I mean, if you just take the Vikings gambling perspective, you take the Vikings +8, you tease them up +8, or if the other team's getting points, you tease them +8, you're guaranteed a lock. So,
Yeah, that's certainly a problem here. I did look at the turnover numbers while you were talking here. That the Vikings are second worst, or tied for are they third worst in the league in terms of margin. They are at -9. Only the Chiefs and the Commanders are worse at -10.
yeah. Well, yeah, the Chiefs have been weird this year too. They're not looking like the Chiefs of the last few years. Seem beatable, very beatable.
Yeah,
I actually personally don't think they're that good, but yeah, that makes sense though. I guess they're turning the ball over a lot too. I think the last few weeks, I don't know, because I think the Vikings got a few turnovers themselves. Like I know in the Raiders game they turned it over, I guess, more on defense than they did on offense, was why we won 3-0. Astounding 3-0. Um, but yeah, no, I think the biggest thing with the Vikings has been turnovers, and just that both sides don't click at the same time, it feels like.
yeah. And the positive thing you have also is that the Packer defense is a trend, absolutely ferocious, a trend. This whatever word you want to say with them, that's their defense here, and that's a big positive, especially when the Vikings might be down a couple key guys on offense.
Yeah, they just lost Hawkinson. I think he tore his ACL. I saw this morning. So we lost him now too. It's just like this year is just everyone just seems like around the league it seems like this. But yeah, the Vikings have just been getting the injury bug pretty bad this year. Um, yeah, they lost Hawkinson. They lost DJ Wanham, one of the defensive ends. He's great. He's having a great year. He's done for the year, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's been a tough year injury wise.
Yep. Let's also get to the pick. The reason why you're here. Our good buddy Nick Franda was here last week doing the picks, and he went 1-2 on the week. He had the Niners laying the points on Monday night. They got their asses kicked, so that was a bad one. He had the Colts getting a 1.5 on the road against the Falcons. They lose that game, and then he had the Dolphins laying the 1.5 against the Cowboys. It's the late field goal to cover that one there. So 1-2 for Nick last week.
Yeah, we actually talked about these picks. I mean, we were going over it like on a Tuesday, like we are today, and it's always hard to gauge. Like sometimes you might be on that pick, and then a week later, like by the Sunday hits, and you're on the other side. Um, but yeah, 1-2, and then
Mine was not that good. I went 0
just
and
had a rough week.
Yeah, I had the Broncos like 6.5. They decided not to show up for most of that game and ended up losing outright at the Patriots, which is bizarre. Jags getting a
Yeah,
point I thought was good. And then obviously Trevor Lawrence here. And then down here at the bottom, the freaking Jets, who I thought I was like, I texted Nick at like 1:30, like, that's the lock of the week here. And then they give the whole game back. And then I get they cover, they don't even cover as they went on the Zerline field goal win by 2. So that's a
well,
bad.
what's funny is like they still won the game. Just didn't cover the 3, and it's like, did you even want them to win the game?
And that I'm like, I don't really care at this point because I know like that
Yeah.
they're not taking a quarterback there, so it's like whatever, they're gonna figure something out here. But
True.
like they gave you the worst case scenario here. They won, they didn't cover.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah. So
Um, I actually think, yeah. What are you gonna tank for an offensive line? You don't need a. I don't think you need like one of the top picks for, because you're not gonna get a quarterback anyway, right? Rodgers says he's coming back for another 2 years or something.
the only thing that you're looking at if you get down to like the 4 range is you're guaranteed probably the top tackle on the board or Marvin Harrison Jr. if he falls. So like those are probably the 2 things you're looking at for the
Yeah,
Jets.
Marvin Harrison Jr. That'd be awesome. But I mean, what do you think the Jets should get?
Offensive lineman, like as many
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
can.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Uh,
so on the year, the challenge team is 25 and 23. I'm 24 and 23. When I started hot, I've been cooling off of late. So it's very tight down the stretch here, but we'll do some picks now. Joey, as the guest, you can go first. So where are you going with pick number one?
all right, so pick number one, I'm going to take the Rams -6.5 versus the G-Men. Um, Kind of correlate with the Vikings. Like I said, I just kind of feel like the Vikings will somehow win both games to keep me, you know, in it. And the Rams, I think, will prob. I think they're definitely going to beat the Giants. The Giants have been looking better. They held the Eagles pretty good yesterday. It was a good game for a while. Tyrod Taylor, who knows how it's going to come, how it's going to look, but I definitely think the Rams are going to win. I'll take the 6.5.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, I'll be happy.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Here, for me, I feel like the Giants gave you the big effort on Christmas here. They have a short week, but the Rams have the full week to practice here. And for me, like, I don't know if the Giants are going to care much about this game. I feel like they're more amped up to try and stop the Eagles in Week 18. I think this might be one where they kind of, take the foot off the gas here and lose by double this. Or Rams team needs it more.
that's kind of how I feel. And I also feel like the Rams last like month, 2 months, they just, started to turn it up. I feel like they're hitting stride at the right time. So I think they should be able to win by 7. And like we said, who knows how into it the Giants are going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Here we go. Pick two.
I'm going to take the Tampa Bucks. Vikings need this game for the Bucks to win because they lost the Bucks earlier in the year, and that's why I'm just correlating everything with the Vikings. So they lost to the Bucks earlier in the year. It's less than a field goal. They're at home. I mean, not that it means anything, but like 2 months ago they killed this team in New Orleans. So I think Bucks -2.5 versus the Saints. If the Saints get back into it, then it's fine because the Vikings beat them earlier in the year. But we want the Bucks to win the division to keep them out of the picture of tiebreakers and stuff like that. So we'll take the Bucks -2.5.
Yeah, I like that pick too. But I mean, like Baker Mayfield is playing very well here. I think Tampa's the only team in the division actually playing well. I think they could win a playoff game here. I think they take care of business here against the Saints. Why have been saying are overrated all year long.
Yeah, they looked very good the last few weeks also. So I feel like that carry that over versus I don't know. I think the Saints are kind of what's the word? They're not like fraud. Like they were good in the beginning of the year. I feel like they kind of, the Derek Carr's not that good, I feel like, and I don't know, they were a little overrated. I don't know what people think of them now, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the number of total for them preseason was 9.5, which is way too high.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's very high. I think the Bucks should be able to win the division. I think they look a lot better lately too. So
All right, so that's pick two. We're going to pick three.
how do I come on here and not choose the Vikings? I have to. I have to. So taking the Vikings -1.5. Like I said earlier, a couple times already, they're gonna win this game to keep me alive for another week. If they don't cover this 1.5, honestly, whatever. Let's pack it up a week early, which is fine. But I mean, they're at home. They just lost the Lions at home. You're gonna lose 2 division games at home in a row. Like you don't deserve to make the playoffs. So I'll take the 1.5. I'll see if this season goes on another week. I personally, I think they should win. But yeah, I mean, they lost Hawkinson. There's a couple injury concerns now, and I know the Packers haven't looked too good themselves. I mean, they beat the Panthers this week. I mean, before that, they looked horrible. They 2 very winnable games. They should have been. They should have been in the wild card spot right now. With they lost the Giants and the game after that, they lost to someone else who was a very winnable game also. Oh, they lost to the Bucks at home. They got killed by the Bucks at home. It wasn't even.
Yeah, I like that pick as well here. I do feel like if you're betting the game here, take the home team laying less than a field goal. I think that's probably the way to go with this game. And Tampa here, I mean, the Vikings here, they have Jaron Hall back. I mean, they're not going to have Jaron Hall. They have Mullins under center. They have some defensive issues. I do think that they take advantage of the Green Bay defense. I like letting less than a field goal home with them.
Yeah, I just want them to start the rookie at this point. Why not? But like I said, I don't know. I think their plans keep Kirk Cousins. If this kid comes out and brings them through a playoff run, then it's going to create a controversy. But I think they're set on. I think they want Cousins back. He's a big locker room guy. The team loves him. So probably Mullins, and let's just hope he doesn't turn the ball over 4 more times. So maybe we could win a game.
All right, you're on the board. I'm up now. Pick number one. I go to Saturday here. I'm going to take the Cowboys laying 6.5 at home against the Lions here. I do think that this is a spot where Dallas is dominating at home. They've won 15 straight games at home dating back to last year. They usually win by double digits at home. Detroit, I think, is not as good as their record indicates. I think they are still a solid playoff team, but I think going on the road to Dallas is tough. Dallas coming off a brutal loss here. I think they have to win to keep their NFC hopes alive here. I think Dallas finds a way to make a big statement here and beats the Lions badly. So I'll take the Cowboys pick one.
I like it. I actually thought that the spread at like what is it, 6.5?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be what 3, 4, maybe. That seems kind of high. I mean, I don't know, maybe seems pretty high, but hey, I like it.
All right, that's pick number one here. Pick number two, the only underdog on the board for either of us here. I'm taking the Patriots getting 11.5 points in Buffalo against the Bills here. I know this doesn't make much sense here because the Bills have played dominant football. They've won a lot of games of late here, but I think a couple things I factor here. Number one, New England has not quit down the stretch. They proved me wrong the last 2 weeks. They have tried hard. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Broncos. They were in the Chief game for a little bit before they gave up that win here. I think as they look at a spot for Buffalo, now they stabilize a little bit. They see Miami week 18 and say, oh, they win the division here. I don't think the Patriots win this game, but 11.5 is a lot. I think this game is much closer than people think it will be. So I'll take the points in New England pick two.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of points.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points. Yeah, everyone, I think the Bills, the Buffalo bandwagons, everyone's jumping on now. But yeah, that's a lot of points. I could see it being like a backdoor cover. I think Buffalo should, control it, but too many points, I feel like.
Yeah, that's pick number two here. And pick number three here. 49ers are bouncing back in a huge way here. They're going on the road against the Commanders, who did not try the first half of the Jet game. They have quarterback questions here. I'm laying 13.5 points here, but 49ers have always done well going east. I think that they know that they have to win big to get themselves back in control of that NFC number one seed scenario here. Washington, don't think they care about this game. We saw that in the Jet game. The only reason they got back in was because Brissett actually playing for his job next year. I don't know if they're going to go back to Howell or not here, but I'll lay with 2 touchdowns. I think the 49ers are going to win. Even if they play Sam Darnold, I think they still win by 2 touchdowns. You Niners last pick.
Yeah, I don't think the little bit I watched last night, I don't think Sam Darnold when he came in looked too bad. Like he definitely controlled the offense. I mean, this should be a college football spread, right? It should be like -28. Like, how are the Niners not gonna? I feel like they're gonna come out and win like 50-0.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so to reset the picks of the week here, Joey's taking the Rams laying 6.5 in New York against the Giants. The Bucks laying 2.5 against the New Orleans Saints at home. The Vikings laying 1.5 at home against the Packers on Sunday Night Football to wrap up the week. My picks: Cowboys laying 6.5 against the Lions at home. The Pats getting 11.5 in Buffalo, and the Niners laying 13.5, laying the big one with them again against the Washington Commanders. Those are your picks for week 17 on the podcast. And coming up next week to wrap up the regular season here, making his debut on the Justin the Suffering podcast proper, another one of our teammates on the Hitman, Joe Simone's coming on to do picks.
oh, Simone, it's gonna Buffalo. That's Buffalo. Buffalo hard.
Yeah.
Kristen, his wife's a big Buffalo fan.
Yeah, so we'll see if he picks the Bills next week. I'll be definitely fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Joe, he's actually a Giants fan, but
yeah,
the Boyles are big Buffalo fans.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joe, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Happy holidays, sir.
You too. Happy holidays.